Meryl Streep. I mean, just say the name, right? It immediately conjures up this incredible gallery of characters, accents, and a shelf full of awards. But today, we're going to try to look past the roles. We're going to see if we can piece together the person behind all of that legendary talent. You know, she's famous for being a master of transformation, for literally disappearing into her characters. So the big question is, how do you even begin to find the real person when she's so good at being someone else? Well, what if we could be a fly on the wall during her therapy sessions?
I mean, if you really want to know what makes someone tick, putting them on a psychoanalyst couch is one way to do it. And believe it or not, there's a book out there that claims to have done exactly that. But is it for real?
So back in 2019, this book comes out from a New York psychoanalyst, a Dr. Alma H. Bond. And it makes this incredible promise to give us a look into these intimate, private therapy sessions with Meryl Streep herself. And the whole premise is pretty wild. The story goes that to research a new role as a psychoanalyst, Meryl agrees to become the patient, to actually go through the very process she's supposed to be portraying on screen. And right from the jump, it feels so real, so compelling. In her very first session, she supposedly says this, and wow, it just makes her sound so vulnerable, so human. It really feels like you're sitting right there in the room with her. And it keeps going, digging into these super personal topics, like her digging into her own family history. You feel like you're getting this totally unprecedented peek into her private world. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. Because this is where the story gets really interesting. This is the moment where everything we thought we were learning gets completely flipped on its head. Here's the thing. That one crucial detail, none of it was real. Meryl Streep never, ever sat on Dr. Bond's couch. Those incredibly intimate conversations, they were completely made up. So what in the world is this book then? Well, it's part of a genre called a psychobiography. Basically, the author, who is a real psychoanalyst, uses a made-up story, in this case, the therapy sessions, as a really creative vehicle to present her psychological analysis of a real person. Now, this wasn't just some random fan fiction. Dr. Bond is a legitimate psychoanalyst, and she spent over a year doing tons of research on Streep's actual life. The fictional sessions were just her tool, her way of exploring and interpreting real biographical facts about Meryl's life, her family, and her whole creative process. All right, so if the fictional therapy couch is a dead end for finding the real Meryl, let's pivot. Let's look at something we can actually measure, the absolutely incredible, almost scientific precision of her craft. I mean, her performance in Sophie's Choice is just legendary, right? And critics have always said her Polish accent was pretty much flawless. But you know what? We can go way beyond just praise. We can actually look at the data. So, back in 2019, linguists actually did a phonetic deep dive on her accent in that film. They broke it down, identifying these key markers of a genuine Polish accent in English, things like devoicing the ends of words, so bed comes out sounding like bet, or having trouble with that tricky th sound. And the results were pretty conclusive. The study found her accent was way more accurate than what you typically hear in Hollywood. But here's the real kicker. Polish listeners themselves said her accent was way more credible and authentic. That's the real test right there. So how on earth did she pull that off? Well, it wasn't some kind of acting magic. It was pure, grueling work. She spent months learning Polish, practicing for 5 to 6 hours every single day. That's the insane level of dedication behind the genius we see on screen. But you know, that incredible dedication to getting a voice just right, that's not something she only saves for the big screen. She uses her actual voice just as powerfully off-screen, in the real world. Just listen to this. At the UN General Assembly, she delivered this line, and it is an absolute gut punch. It's simple, it's shocking, and it is totally impossible to ignore. She was talking about the horrific reality in Afghanistan since the Taliban takeover in 2021. Where the most basic human rights of women and girls have just been systematically erased. That is the fight she's lending her powerful voice to. And her advocacy isn't just about talk, it's about amplifying the groups that are actually on the ground, doing the hard work. Organizations like these are on the front lines, fighting to empower and protect Afghan women and girls. So, we've looked at 3 different versions of Meryl Streep, right? the fictional patient, the meticulous artist, and the passionate advocate. And in a way, each one is a kind of performance built on deep research and dedication. It really makes you wonder, for a master of transformation like her, is the real person just the sum of all the roles she chooses to play, both on screen and off?